age where outward appearances and material possessions mean so much, it's not hard to understand why most people would feel that the couple living here have it all. To those who don't know them better, Greg and Gail Phelps seem to be living the American dream. A beautiful home, successful careers, a wonderful marriage. If it were a puzzle, it would all fit together perfectly, except there'd be one missing piece. When the two married 12 years ago, they felt that together there was no mountain too high to climb. That was until 3 years later when they decided it was time to start a family and found that they had possibly come up against that very mountain. When I first spoke with Greg and Gail, it didn't take long to realize that the strength and courage that has sustained them through the difficult years, they found in each other.
I think we eventually went through 3 doctors at various stages of the infertility treatment that gave us the opinions, and eventually came to the conclusion that they really don't have an explanation as to why we can't have children. Mm-hmm. And after that we decided we don't need any more opinions. 3 was enough to tell us what we needed to hear.
Thousands of couples each day receive the disheartening news that they will never be able to have children naturally. But unless you're one of those couples or know them personally, we can only imagine the disappointment and heartache they must endure.
We went and saw Dr. Ronald Strickler, who works out at Barnes, and yes, he is very well known in the field of infertility, which was one of the reasons why we chose him.
At this time in the United States, about 1 in 6 couples, 15%, are experiencing difficulty becoming pregnant.
And despite modern technology, infertility treatment is still a long and exhausting process with its many side effects, as the couple found out.
I had hot flashes. I had terrible mood swings. I joke the fact that I'd had to go through menopause twice in my life. It wasn't fair.
You now had your sexual relationship centered around the timing of the female cycle. And you lived and died by the calendar and the clock. And when the doctor said it's time, you do it. And it didn't matter whether you felt good or you didn't feel good, or you were going through a bad day at work or not. Whatever. I mean, you got into this basically having sex. On demand. Yeah,
very
that's
much.
Exactly right. And that's one of those emotional kind of things that you go through during the infertility treatment.
Because once you get on that roller coaster, it's really hard to get off. I mean, because you continue to keep thinking, well, next month it's going to happen, next month it's going to happen. And I think with
the financial aspect is just one side of it.
Yeah.
It's the emotional roller coaster side of things. You have to decide, when am I going to get off the roller coaster? Right. You got to decide that I've gone up and down the hill enough times, and you start thinking it's not worth it. It's time to move on. It's time to realize that it's not going to work. No matter how many times you try, how many dollars you throw at your medical treatments, it just isn't going to work.
Today life looks brighter. The couple have moved on with their lives and made the decision to adopt.
We always knew that would be the next route. If we reached that point that we couldn't have a child on our own, that we would go the adoption route.
After extensive research, Greg and Gail found the Family Network, a local adoption agency, but were told it might take years to adopt an infant in the United States. What would be a possible solution? Find out next week on Part 2 of There's Hope, and see how the couple made their dream a reality. Reporting for See Here, I'm Kara Savio.
The very first time I talked with Greg and Gail Phelps, I talked with Gail initially, and I remember she was one of the many parents who had been through so much pain. She'd been through years of infertility, and she was just really trying to find an avenue to create a family with her husband. And they just seemed like very, very nice people. They sent me a copy of their home study, and They're a couple that works really well in this program. They're very patient, they're kind, they have a lot of family support. They're one of the perfect couples, you know, that you look for a program, and have worked very well in the program.
So with the paperwork completed and a tape of 15 precious children in their possession, they were given only 24 hours to choose their child.
What made you decide on Alex? What made you choose him over the other ones?
I've always loved brown eyes, and so that was something that I picked up on right away. You know, the big, soft brown eyes, and that's been everybody who first sees that picture. That's the first thing they say. Look at those eyes. Finally, I turned the tape off, and I turned to Greg, and I said, "If you were doing this all by yourself, and I wasn't involved, who would you pick?" And he said, "I would pick Alex," and I said, "I would too." And so at that point, we turned off the videotape. I called Brenda and said, "This is who we want."
Brenda informs the anxious couple that their departure date for Russia will be September 1st.
We got a lot to be grateful for, and this adoption now is kind of like the crowning jewel.
Due to the Goodwill Games, the date is pushed back to November. The couple try to go on with life as usual. December comes and goes, and with January comes news that the date will be pushed back yet another month.
I know that you were supposed to have him like 2 or 3 months earlier, and then everything just kept getting postponed. That had to be really hard.
That's been the hard part, is the waiting. And I would say even this last 2 months has been tough. It's kind of like when I was trying to get pregnant, and every month it'd be, "Are you pregnant?" And now it's been, "Have you heard anything?" And I finally told my friends at work, I said, "Don't ask me, I'll tell you. Trust me, I will tell you when I know something. Don't ask me." Because it is hard.
At the beginning of February, Brenda calls to say that March 21st is their definite departure date. And now the big decision is who's going to hold him first.
I think it'll be pretty even Steven. So he gets the first dirty diaper, though.
The waiting is finally over.
We're going to get to be there with you.
Yeah,
right,
it's great.
Get him at the airport.
Yes, we'll be looking lovely, I can warn you now. It's a long flight. We'll all be kind of dragging off the plane, but...
It's going to happen.
Yeah, it's going to happen.
Congratulations, it's finally here, it's finally happened. Do you want to say anything to us?
We're just really tired, but we're really excited and glad to be home.
Ooh, he's adorable.
Thank you.
Greg, you want to say anything?
Just thanks to Small World Foundation and Slava and everybody. They've been wonderful.
It's just overwhelming. Every time they come home, it makes us realize that what we're doing is really a good thing.
We could all learn something from this story. I know I have. Just hold on to your dreams, keep believing, and always remember, there's hope.